So we're looking at reseeding projects today. Reseeding is probably one of the main buckets of project categories we do here at RSA. We work with ranchers on fields that they've identified that don't meet their farm and ranch production goals. So back here we have a guy that has a project with us right now putting in a seeding. We were up with Sally Austin earlier today looking at a different seeding.
I can see it in rows, some grass, so that's pretty nice. I guess the finish of it was the 24th of April last year. That's when he finished seeding it. And I think he worked it 5 times before he got it, so he thought it was good enough. We'd had a bad wreck with it. The summer fall got away, and then we had a bunch of those piles of weeds on it. And those piles of weeds still have a there's bad rings around them, even though he spread them out and everything. But I think he deemed that he had a pretty good seed bed by the time he got to plant it there.
We generally try to find fields that don't meet economic goals for farmers anymore. We work with partners. World Wildlife Fund has been one of our biggest partners on cropland reseedings. We've worked with them on a little over 3,000 acres worth of projects. We work with Ducks Unlimited and the NACA program to do a bunch of different restorations associated with wetland and duck habitat. We work with joint ventures that identify priority areas based on migratory bird habitat that would be areas where we should focus on nesting cover for migratory birds. A lot of the focus of these fields has been soil carbon. It's a pretty easy way to think that we're sequestering more carbon by taking fallowed or otherwise highly turned over crop ground and keeping it in grass long term so that topsoil is able to build carbon. We also work on this project. This was specific to sage grouse. So we try to take these fields that have a pretty low habitat value for sage grouse and plant them to things that at least provide some cover and some insect food sources. Our area through history, from the Homestead Act forward, Tom just told me that one of the fields we seeded through his project was originally farmed in 1907 as part of an original homestead. When we visited with Sally earlier, she said the field we seeded in that project was the last homestead parcel proved up on in the lower 48, and that was 1959. So we have a homestead era history through the early 1900s that opened up a lot of farm ground, and then through the 80s, the farm crisis and interest rates and land values and CRP programs and pressures on farm markets incentivize a lot of cultivation and transition to farming on acreage in this area. And then in the last 20 years, more volatile farm markets and insurance premiums have driven some farm acreage changes. So really we're just trying to respond best to whatever the agricultural community wants, and then we're trying to match agricultural community needs and places that people want grass with wildlife needs.
It's next year country, and you just got to keep going. You just do the best you can.